Hey, I'm Chris Januszewski, and welcome to the Rebellious Times Podcast. Today, we've got Ude Rosales, founder of Digital Pulse Innovations Agency, on the podcast with us. How are you doing, Ude?
Good. How are you, Chris?
Doing great, thanks. Where are you located?
So I'm located here in Austin, Texas, and I reside in the north side, close to the Domain area, Arboretum. Yeah, I've been in Austin since 2018 and in Texas since 2010. So been here a
Fantastic.
bit now. Yeah.
So, yeah, I always love interviewing a fellow Austinite. That's always kind of heartwarming to do and to talk about your
Yeah.
different stuff. And so I was actually up at the Domain at the weekend. I had some friends over from California, kind of showing them around. And so we did an afternoon and some food at the Domain. And so, yeah,
Cool.
I'm a big fan of that spot.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you go to the green area where like the kids like to hang out and stuff? I know you have kids, so.
We did. We went to the Asian fusion restaurant just there.
Oh,
The one next to Fort
nice.
Martin's. Yeah, food's really good. The service was a little slow on that day, but the waitress made up for it with a really funny comment. After I said, where's the food? She gave me a really funny comment. So she got all the points back with that.
That's awesome.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Ude. Tell us about your background, kind of where you're from, how you became to start an agency and where you're at.
Yeah. So a little bit about my background is I actually grew up in Wisconsin. I moved there when I was about 3, so a toddler. Parents divorced at the time, and we moved from Texas to Wisconsin. And I grew up over there till I was like about 19. And then at age 19, after my first year of college, I decided, you know what, I want to go, kind of get to know my biological dad more and, be more with extended family. I had not, kind of gotten the opportunity to get to know, as I grew up. So I ended up moving to South Texas, Callan, Texas, right by the border. So I went from one extreme to the other because Wisconsin's about 13 hours away from Canada. And then I was literally like 30 minutes away from Mexico. So it was definitely something different. It was a culture shock a little, but I definitely blended in. I like to say that because a lot I think like it's like 80%, 90% Hispanics, and I love it. I loved it since day one is when I got there in 2010, and yeah, so that's how I ended up in South Texas. And then in 2018, I took a opportunity here in Austin with a corporate job, and I moved out here in Austin and I loved it. I was specifically looking at Austin, San Antonio area. I was more lenient to moving to Austin because I grew up in like the nature and rivers and hiking and biking. Like that was our fun in Wisconsin, out in the countryside or whatever. And so Austin felt like that was like the perfect mix, like still in Texas, but still had a little bit of home as well. So,
Love it.
yeah.
I want to hear a bit more about this shock of maybe the contract between Wisconsin. I've never been to Wisconsin. Obviously, I live in Austin. I've been to South Texas. So we're like Port Aransas down there for summer
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit what it was like, heading down there, landing there for the first time, and how it compares to life in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I got there. I mean, I had visited as kid, not for an extended time, just kind of in and out. So I knew the area a little, but living there was very different because I went from speaking English 24/7 all the time. My stepdad, he's white, so at home we would speak as well English, and then I got to South Texas, and it was like it was an expectation to speak, Spanish, because that's just the flow of things. And it was a little bit of a culture shock for me, not just the language, but just like the environment, literally the environment, the heat that's like all year long. And we had over there in Wisconsin, it's like 9 months out of the year. So practically all year it's cold, it's snowing half of the time. And so that's where my culture shock went, like just like it was a full 180. But I loved it. I loved it because I feel like I started connecting with my Mexican roots and heritage more so than I was when growing up. And I started getting to know more, the culture itself. We celebrate everything in big, even if it's a 2-year-old's birthday party, it's the whole 9 yards, and I loved it. I loved it. And so that was kind of what I mean by like the culture shock that
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
I'm interested to know. So I've been married to my wife for it was our 10-year anniversary last year. She's from Nicaragua, and we go over there quite a lot. When we
"Hmm,
first met, I was trying to impress her, so I'm learning some Spanish. I'm going to Spanish classes, and
yeah,
I can get by, especially if I've had a drink. I can get by at family gatherings. But I've kind of regressed, and I think the family's looking at me thinking, "How you got worse? Like how you slacked off so much." So if you've got any tips on how to improve my Spanish, I'd like
yeah."
to know.
I'd say because I wasn't like it, I understood it. My grandma speaks Spanish, my mom, spoke Spanish to us. And so I understood it, but I wasn't the best. I'd say I was very much Spanglish when I got there, more English than Spanish when I got to South Texas. But I think what helped me was really just going for it and not being afraid to say
Don't
the
be
wrong
afraid.
thing and being okay, being made fun of, and, just going with the flow. And so I would tell some of my cousins because I started hanging out naturally with more family down there, more so than Wisconsin, to be honest, as far as like cousins go. And I would tell them like, hey, like it's okay if you make fun of me, but also correct me so I understand like how to say it. And I just made it a point the first 2 years I was there, I was very adamant about learning it and like, just fully diving in.
Yeah. Love it. All right, you inspired me. I'm going to get on it. The next
Yeah.
family gathering, I'm going to get in the mix. Right. So you went to college. Where did you go to college?
Yeah, so I went to college down in South Texas, in Edinburgh, Texas. At the time, it was called UTPA, University of Texas Pan American. It now is called UTRGV, which is University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. And so that's where it's part of the UT system. That's where I went to school and graduated with my bachelor's degree there. And then once I was
What did you
in
study?
what was that? Go
What
ahead, sorry.
What did you study?
Yeah, so I studied business marketing, business administration with a focus in marketing, and I loved it, man. I loved every single part of it, every class I had, I enjoyed it. I got to do an internship right out of the college, a practice round type of deal with the city of McAllen for a bit. So that was pretty cool. And I got some exposure there, more on the event production or coordination side of things of marketing. But that was actually pretty cool too.
Nice, nice. And then what about after you finish college? Kind of give us the journey up to starting your agency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I was in high school, actually, surprisingly enough, I ended up landing a job in the banking industry as a teller part-time. Our school would let us out for a co-op program, it's called, so, to go work. And so I started in banking really when I was 16, man. And so throughout college, I kind of continued that. I had a retail job as well. And then I went back into banking when I graduated college. I was already, know, in a bank, a national bank, was making good money. And so I wanted really to do marketing, but I was gonna start as a entry level job, right? And I'm like, man, I can't do that because at that time I already had bills and a certain lifestyle I liked. I had my girlfriend at the time already, who's now my wife. So I was like, I gotta keep up the tabs, at least pay the tabs when we go out. So anyhow, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to continue in this route, banking and finance, but I will still do marketing on the side. I've always been just a hustler. I like being busy. I like learning new things. And so I kept up with marketing as a freelance work type of job. And it really just started with family and friends, to be honest, that had their business. I was trading, services with them. Like I'll trade you my marketing services, social media, more in that space, social media and ads for, your services, etc. So as I grew in my corporate jobs or career, I should say, my corporate career, I ended up making the move to Austin with Fortune 500 company actually. And I was blessed. I was grateful to God for that opportunity. But I also was on a mission. I was like, you know what? Austin is a place to be. Even back in 2018, it was a growing city and it was a young city. And I know it was in the event space, right? There's a lot, it's, the music capital of the world. And so at the time, my exposure to marketing briefly was in events, right? So my thought was like, okay, I'll grow in my finance banking career while I continue this, marketing passion of mine. And so I did. I was stuck to the corporate world and I loved it as, loved learning there. And I was pretty good, I was pretty good at what I did, but my passion has always been marketing. So I just continued growing that. Went back to school to UT Austin, I'm a certified digital marketer, and that's just something fancy for, a fancy word, I guess, for letting people know, like, I deep dived into digital marketing strategies, SEO, keywords, web development, and all that. So I went back to do that. And really, as I did that, I started landing, um, you know, by the grace of God, bigger gigs, with corporate clients, mid-sized businesses, more so in the ad space, Meta ads and Google ads. At the time, it wasn't quite Meta yet, but now it's Meta. Now we know it as Meta and Google ads. And so, yeah, man. So I continued that. I continued doing that because I love that. And by the time I knew it, I practically had two full-time jobs. My corporate job, and I was coming home any little time I had working on, my clients' projects. And the wife just kind of told me like, hey, have you realized you pretty much have a team already? And like you don't have a lot of time anymore, so you gotta choose, right? What to do here. And I went for it. I went for it back in 2023. So yeah.
That's cool. So it kind of came about organically, step by step, based on your marketing passion. You've got these people around you, like-minded people, and almost your squad built itself. And then here we are with Digital Pulse Innovations. Tell us about your agency now. Who do you serve, and how do you differentiate?
Yes, Digital Pulse Innovations, we serve small to mid-sized businesses and I should say service businesses, right? And specifically, we've been focusing on construction and concrete, but honestly, we have all types of business. We have businesses in the beauty industry. We have a few, law firms too. And so really anybody that's providing a service locally, I'd say, is who we partner up with to come up with, what is the best strategy for them where they're at and how can we partner up with them to help them, grow. Because that's that's the goal of, most businesses, right? Is growing and mainly having consistent business, which in the marketing space we call leads, right? So having consistent leads. And so I love what I do because that looks very different for each client. And so that's the fun part for us, like doing our research and making sure that we're aligning where they're at so we can, give them great results.
Love it. Great.
Yeah.
Obviously in the US, as I found out with Rebel Commerce Solutions, my consulting business, there
Yeah.
are probably millions, right? Probably a million agencies slash consultants helping with marketing in one way, shape, or other. When you pitch a client, how do you position yourself?
Yeah, so when I pitch a client, I've always been a very transparent person. I'm gonna fluff it all up. I'll tell you straight into it. Hey, like, okay, so this is the expectation. And I like to be honest with clients because when I'm purchasing anything, whether it's a service or product, I want to know the ins and outs. I'm just that person. I'll do my research. I'll make sure I'm asking the right questions to whoever is selling me something. And so I would love to I love to give that white glove service to my clients as well. And so I'll be really honest, depending on where they're at, obviously, but like, let's say it's a small business and they've done zero to no marketing, might have a logo, perhaps might not. I tell them, hey, like, we'll partner up with you, but marketing takes time, right? It's not magic. It's not, we wish we could do that, but you probably know this. All platforms have their algorithms, and it's got to grow organically. Yes, we are going to put in and inject that paid ads or, paid strategies, if you will, but it takes time. So I'm very transparent. It takes typically, we like to start getting because it takes time, we like to make sure that we get everything quickly done for our clients. So within 14 days, 2 weeks, we want to make sure that they have their website if they don't, or that their website has been optimized. And I'd say that's pretty quick for industry standard as far as website goes. And then we make sure that all of their platforms are connected, socials with Google, Yelp, etc. So all of that's done within the first 14 days. And by that time, you should start receiving, some sort of leads. But I tell my clients, typically it takes 2 to 3 months to start seeing like good results, like full results, I should say. Because to me, any result is good, but the max potential, and then from there it's on. So that's how I pitch them. I like to be honest and give them a timeline of like what the expectation should be, so we're on the same page and there's no miscommunications and everybody's happy.
Nice. So a lot of times you work with independent, local to Austin business owners. Potentially, they've never done any marketing before. Maybe they've done something, and you kind of go hand in hand and build that relationship to set the expectations on timelines and when they should expect. Because all clients, when they first have the first conversation, they always want those leads now, right? They contact you for a reason, right? They're struggling for
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. But yeah, just setting expectations correctly. And back to the kind of unique point you have around obviously speaking Spanish, which hopefully I will
Mhm.
at some point, and that cultural knowledge. And given that in Austin and Texas, there's a huge Hispanic Spanish speaking community, right, that need to be marketed too, that also want to buy products and services. Is that something you build into your business like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I tell our clients the unique, what makes us unique, right, is that we're not just going to translate, social media or whatever it is that we're doing, or the website, because we do websites fully in English and fully in Spanish, where there's a button that they click and you can have the same site in a different language. I tell them we're not gonna just translate it, but we make sure that it's, that it actually fits culturally, that it's conversational, people are reading it and it's conversational rather than, sounding more AI now or robotic. And so, and that's what makes us unique, that we can really tap into the experience I have, and some of the individuals in my team as well have firsthand knowledge in that culture that will really, really resonate with potential clients of theirs, right? And viewers, or in an engagement, more than that.
Love it. I'd love to hear about your approach to managing your business, your team, your culture, and scaling. Obviously, over time, agencies generally want to build and scale and expand our ability to serve more customers better and larger customers, et cetera, et cetera. And what's your approach to this?
Yeah, I thought about that too as I established my company. I'm like, well, what type of, manager and founder do I want to be, right? Because in the corporate world, I feel like it's very red tape and by the books, and we all have to abide, by a certain thing, which is good. I feel like structure is good, but I'm like, I've always been, honestly, man, like very, and then I call myself more like an organic person, going with the flow and making sure, everybody likes coming into work and things like that. So for me, it's very important leading by example and also creating a culture that, it's gonna inspire creativity because we are in marketing and so we need that. And so in order to do that, I'm more like let people's juices flow and, let them tell me, hey, if they have an idea, or maybe we need to pivot and I'm not seeing something because I don't know everything. I tell my team, I don't know everything. And so I'm here more to guide us too, but also to be a team player. So that's kind of how I've been, growing my team, and they know, the guys and the girls know, like anybody, it's an open door policy. They can come to me, anything, and we'll figure it out. So I love that. And as I'm focusing on scaling and growing and structuring this year, I want to make sure that I don't lose that also. And so I've been very, adamant about with my mentor, I have a mentor, and been focusing on that we still continue to have those same vibes, but also more in like a structured way where we're scaling.
Love it. Love it. Sounds like a fun time coming to work with you. You touched on your mentor there as well. I believe you do some mentoring as well.
Yeah. So I've always been a natural mentor. Just like any knowledge I have, I love to give it. I think it's knowledge is power, right? And so I've always found myself, even growing up, like helping, you know, a classmate of mine or a neighbor, and I just had that in me. And so with my agency, I really wanted to give back because it takes a lot of grit, energy, and determination, discipline. The list goes on. You know this because you have a corporate background to get into that space, even, right? Yeah. To even get into spaces like that. And I feel like some people, when they graduate college, for me, I'll be honest, it was a little bit easier because I had started since I was 16. So I kind of had learned the ropes with these corporate jobs. But I noticed some of my friends, they were just like completely lost when they graduated. Like, okay, I have this degree. Now what do I do? How do I do it? What's the next step, and how do I accomplish something? And so I started thinking when I, established my company, I'm like, you know what, man? I really want to give back by giving people opportunities. I'm very much about diversity and inclusion because I come from two different worlds that collided. It gave me this huge perspective. And so I'm like, I want to make sure not only that I'm giving opportunities, but that it's also diverse. And so anyhow, we started really with one intern. And we had one intern first at the beginning of us starting back in 2023. That went really well. He actually, is still with us and, grew and everything like that. And I loved it. Loved seeing the growth. And so then was it last year, 2024? Would have been, it was July 2020. So last year, yeah, it was last year. We decided to give it another round, and we were really, I'll be honest, we were really looking for just one intern, right? We're like, let's take on another intern, more on the creative side of things. You're not going to believe it, but I think within a 24-hour period, we had 100 applicants.
Really? Is this a paid internship, by the way?
It is a paid internship,
Oh,
yes. Paid internship. We had about 100 applicants. I think it was like 40 some in, what was it? I can't remember if it was Indeed or what's the other one? It was another platform like Indeed, and then 50 some in LinkedIn. And the recruiter that was helping us, she's like, you know what? LinkedIn put a pause on it, and then we have to pause it because this is too many. Anyways, we had some really good talent apply, and man, I was so impressed. And I was like, man, can we squeeze another one in here? Because it's just so hard. And I wanted to interview, the ones that we ended up landing with. I wanted to interview all of them because she was like, let's just do 3. And I'm like, no, I want to really, see what everybody else has. Point is, we ended up landing with 4, a group of 4. And that kind of honestly, that really excite me because I was like, you know what, this is awesome. This is more than I asked for. And it was definitely a bigger challenge, and I love challenges. So I was like, and not only that, I this time around wanted to take the intern group on myself. Although I already have a lot other things going on, but I was like, I want to make sure like I can, feed into them and grow them as well. So we did, and it was great, man. Out of that group of 4, we ended up with 2 that were long term, and they just completed their internship actually, literally like 2 weeks ago. They were with us for 9 months. Great set of people, to be honest. Loved them, loved what they did. Saw a lot of growth. I'm so excited for their future too. And I'm still connected with them. I'm like, let's stay connected. I'm going to help you grow, continue growing. But yeah, that's my way of giving back. And we definitely are considering potentially do that as well in the future. It's just so fulfilling for me, just getting those type of opportunities.
Awesome. It's amazing that you're giving back and helping people get off the ground, especially young people, where the working environment or the jobs market is a little tricky right now.
Yeah.
And I think companies are getting bombarded with 100 applicants. And, that means for the
Yeah.
applicants, they've got a 1 in 100 chance, all things being equal. And so to actually get started and get that first job is so important and get that experience.
Yeah.
Credit to you for doing that.
Thank
What
you.
do you see the future of digital marketing in Austin and your business?
As I had mentioned, my business really started organically, by the grace of God. I started landing opportunities and it grew. But as I've continued here, we're going on to 3 years now, I really started digging deep, and I'm like, okay, well, what is my why? Like, why am I doing all this aside from it being my passion? And as I had gotten interviewed by Austin Magazine, shout out to them. And when they were interviewing me, Austin Voyage Magazine, I'm sorry, that's their name, Austin Voyage Magazine. When they were interviewing me, they asked me a question, right? Similar to like the why. And I started thinking about it, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, you know what? I had not thought about it, but my why really started way back when I was younger. When I would visit my dad for, the holidays or whatever it was, summer and things like that, he had a print shop. So back in the day before computers, and before the computer era started popping up, people would go to print shops, right, and get their business cards done, their invoices done, their invitations for parties, their brochures, flyers, you name it. And so that was actually my father and mother's business for years, 16 years plus. And so as a kid, when I would go back and visit, I would always sit behind one of the desks and do mock flyers and they had like the front of the office and then the back of the office where, I had their team working on getting everything production wise done. And anyway, so when I started thinking about that, I'm like, I feel like without even knowing, I feel like that's where my passion started for all this creativity and this marketing things. And really my why here is I want to really continue my family legacy, man. As cliche as that sounds, I really do want to, it's not nostalgic thinking about it, but yeah, I really want to continue that. And I feel like that's my why, continuing that legacy. And not only that, but also building that bridge between, like I mentioned, Wisconsin, completely different. to South Texas, and now
Oh,
Austin. I feel like it's literally in the middle, probably more so closer to South Texas, but it's also like a happy medium between both. And so I want to make sure that, and I tell my team that we are building that bridge between our communities with what we call bilingual marketing. And so my future for me is, it looks like, and just a little caveat there, not all of our clients need that bilingual marketing, right? And it's not a requirement to work with us either, but it's definitely something that we're proud of. And so I want to continue building those bridges. We've had clients come to us that were, afraid of marketing because they just didn't know, who to contact or how to contact, Spanish speaking people that didn't know how to even get started, to be honest, or how to look that up, or, and who could communicate with them in that sense. And so I want to make sure that we're making it simple for people to understand, and then also building those bridges between our communities. More so, like, our future goals would be, love to have someday like a studio here in Austin. And have a creative, more of a bigger creative space, if you will.
I love that. I love both those things. First of all, we need bridges right now. We need bridges between communities. So thank you for
Yeah,
building one. Right. I think we all need that.
thank you.
On the other side, I work from home. A lot of teams work from home. A lot of agencies are fully remote
Hmm.
now, distributed workforces. But it is kind of a dream of mine as well to actually have a space where you can have, a lot of talented creatives and marketing people in a building to
Yeah,
actually put together and to get that energy. And well, yeah, it's a really cool thought. So yeah, we can check.
maybe we can partner up someday.
Well, who knows? Well, who knows? Ude, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. If somebody wants to contact you or your business, where should they reach out?
Yeah. Good question. So we have our website. It's digitalpulseinnovations.com. And there's a dash in between each word. And then they can also give us a call. We like old school calls too. And I say old school because I feel like some people think that's something in the past, but I love talking to people in person. Our team would love to talk to you as well. And our phone number is 512-843-9900. And also they can email us at team@digitalpulseinnovations.com. And like I said, it's a dash in between each word. But yeah, that's where they can do that. And then we're also on socials, Facebook under DPI_ATX, as well as Instagram, LinkedIn under that username.
Thanks so much, Ude. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Love chatting with you, and thank you for the space.